What is up, guys? King and Wonderworld back at you with, part 2 to What If Deku Was Kurapika. I am so sorry it took me so long to get a part 2 of this. It was just, there was some miscommunication with me and the artist, so we couldn't get this out as quickly as I would have liked. Also, problems with the headset, which I've now got shipped in, so woohoo. This should be a lot better audio than that fuzzy shit you would have heard before. Way better. So I hope everybody is going to enjoy this video, especially with the better quality. In 2 weeks' time, I'll be bumping up the schedules. I'll be on school holidays. I'll be on spring break, I reckon. So yeah, I hope everybody loves this episode as much as I will making it, and let's get right into it. So after the events of last part, Kurapika came back home to a gruesome sight of his family dismembered, torn to bits, and, well, their bodies hung around as if they were some sort of decoration. Clearly, a warning to the heroes, as it was not just their deaths that made it worse, but also that their bodies were hung around. Their eyes were stolen. I will never forgive them! As his eyes flash red as the hate-filled Kurapika now seeks vengeance against the ones known as the Phantom Troop. And this is where our story, kicks back into gear. As now, Kurapika has been going through middle school, as he gave himself the rumored nickname of the Scarlet-Eyed Devil. This was a name that stuck with him all throughout middle school, after the incident with the bullies. Nobody dared even speak to him. Nobody dared, interact with him. Not even the teachers. They'd be hesitant even just giving him work. They were that terrified of this man, whose blank gaze seemed to be more horrifying than any sort of beast they can imagine. As their one true fear arrives when they see all the scarlet eyes emerge. And once 9 months was started, he started training all to himself, dedicating every single waking moment to getting stronger. I must get stronger. I must get my revenge on them. For Kaito. For Mom. Dad. I swear, I'll kill them all. On that day, a vow was made. As now he was training his body to the utmost limits, extending the reach of his chains, as they would now manage to go 50 meters. As he was even training his control over them, being able to use their flexibility, rigidness, and being able to set up little traps for them, and even increasing their striking power. However, this wasn't enough, as he would soon fight an opponent that forced him to go even further than he thought he had to before. He was encountered by the sludge villain. This reminded him that he is still far too weak to hunt them down. As the rest of the time remaining, he grinded every day, literally. He enhanced his body, his eyes, his quirk to the absolute limit, to the point where his body would give out. He would sometimes show up to school with, bruises on his knuckles and blood on his hands. As his uniform be torn, people did not dare answer. However, people nearby would obviously fill him in as, well, some guys bumped into him and tried to pick a fight, asking for his wallet and his money, otherwise they would kill him. As he'll just laugh and just say, "Yo, why are you laughing? Just give us your wallet or we'll hurt you." It's like, as he stares him directly in the eyes are full blood-ridden crimson, and says, "You do not know what it's like to kill." As he picked him up by the throat, as he started basically strangling him with one hand. They'd say, "Boss!" As they'd run in to try and attack Kurapika, he'd wrap the chains around his hands as he started beating them down. As it was a whole gang against just one man. As the boss is just like, "What can you do, huh? You may have a quirk, but there's 11 of us and 1 of you." And it's like, as Kurapika stares him down, eyes continue glowing as he cracks his knuckles. "Oh, there's 11 of you. That means there's more pain to dish out, and more blood to go around." As he starts packing the chains tighter around his fist, as he bursts at him he runs at them with a burst of speed, chaining their legs down using the other chains from his body, basically immobilizing them to use them as a solid punching bag, as they would be beaten to a bloody pulp. Teeth were knocked out, bones were broken, noses were broken. However, the only thing that was left on Kurapika was bruises on his hands from his own chains, and, well, the drops of blood that managed to get his uniform dirty. As he looked at them and just said, "Pathetic. You're a sorry excuse." As he walked away, as some people who were not directly in the line of sight of Kurapika caught video of that as it started circulating around, as now throughout the entire middle school area of Tokyo and Saitama, that with the beast known as the Scarlet-Eyed Devil has now been moving its way around. A lot of people would just be saying, do you reckon if we ever bump into him, he'll beat us down like that?" Obviously some more than others were more paranoid. However, the threat of them getting beaten down was no joke. As after all the training and all the beatings, after 9 months, his body was, a pure pinnacle of raw strength and brutality. Scars lined his body, and it was sheerly clad in muscle. Lean but firm. As he walked into UA, as his legs were a bit sore still from a fight he got into. However, he was still fine. However, due to a little mistiming in a step, he tripped over. However, being so proficient in his chains, using them as basically a second nature to him now, as he basically binded his own foot down to the ground using the chains and pulled himself backwards, just using pure strength alone. As Kurapika, he just went on walking, as the girl behind him who was reaching out to touch him slowly moved her hand away and says, I guess he's fine." As this was a brown-haired girl who was trying to look out for him when he fell over. However, she wasn't expecting that one. As he makes his way in and finally finds a seat and sits down. When he did so, He sat in front of a bunch. Well, no, he sat behind a bunch of very noisy students who were obviously very excited about the entrance exam. Except they were being a bit obnoxious. As it was actually a group of buckos, well, goons. However, Bucko wasn't with them as he was put in a separate area as he got in through recommendations. Somehow. As these guys were laughing along and basically weren't taking things very seriously, and Kurapika wasn't having it. As he basically just says, "Oi, shut it!" He turns around and is like, "The hell did you just say to me?" As he, one of the shady-looking figures looks back at him and says, "I said shut it," with his eyes now glowing red. As it's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do, freak? Stare at me anymore?" As one of the rest of the boys start turning around, as one of them did actually recognize those eyes. And it's like, "Oh shit, Kata, stop!" It's like, "What? We're not gonna get into trouble." He's one that clearly started. "No, Kata, shut up! Shut up!" It's like, "Oi, why are you telling me to shut up?" It's him. "What? Who's him?" "It's the Scarlet-Eyed Devil." "What? No, no, you just pull my leg here. Just 'cause he happens to have red eyes." And says, "No, Kata, not it's much more than just red eyes. They're glowing." As he was right, as he looked around and saw everybody else's eyes were dark and almost couldn't be seen what color they were. However, his were very visible. It's like, "Oh shit. Just turn around." As another boy from the side said, "Excuse me, please keep it down. Other students are trying to listen to the explanation being given. It is very rude of those who think it's just not okay to listen." As they now start shutting up and sitting back as, well, Kurapika's eyes start reverting back to normal. As he sits there patiently listening and saying, "Okay, so it's basically just a combat aptitude test. I wonder if there's some sort of system involved. I'll have to find that out." As he was first ushered into the, well, written exam. As obviously being very calculative, he was very smart. As, well, he spent most of his time searching slash investigating, well, the whereabouts of the Phantom Troop members, so he was quite smart at a lot of things, and especially maths and trying to calculate the odds and probabilities and stuff. However, since he was spending most of his time calculating for the Phantom Troop's appearance and whereabouts, it kind of led him to being a bit sparse in knowledge in some places. However, he was more than smart enough to make at least the top 5 in the exams. So, he obviously passed. That portion at least. But the true spiciness of this story is when we get to the combat exam. As everybody's looking forward and getting ready as they're all cracking their necks, stretching, and getting ready to start smashing down some robots. However, there was a few people who looked very hesitant. They they were quite short and honestly might have been his little cousin. As he was just staring for a second until President Mike had said, "Alright, students, when I say go, go!" As he's waiting for a few seconds, says, "Well, what are you waiting for? I said go!" as everybody starts running as Kurapika surely blitzes in speed, as not only would his natural speed be able to keep up with Ear in his second gear, but also be able to outrun most muscle enhancement quirk users. As this was quite shocking to Ida, especially as even though he was only in his second gear, it's still quite hard to think of a normal way somebody his age could keep up with him without having a super speed quirk. However, this was not. He didn't even have his Scout Eyes activated, as well. Not Deku. Kurapika had wrapped his arm in chains, as the point of them would end at his fingertips, as he would basically impale the robots with his arm, pushing all the way through before pulling his hand out viciously. As he continued to fire his chains one by one into the robots, and even using the grips, well, the design of the chains to grip onto it and hold and dig into the metal and tear them apart from long range. But his favorite way of attacking them was to, well, impale them with a bunch of chains and fling them around and use them like a morning star. With the chains poking out just enough that the little spikes are still able to cause damage. However, they were strong enough to keep the robot together long enough that it could be used as a battering weapon. As people were just sheerly amazed by the complete ferocity of his attacks. As his eyes were, well, obviously were glowing red as he was letting out some pent-up aggression and anger, out, especially from earlier, out on the robots. As everybody's just, awestruck really. Even people that were in the middle of their exams just stopped to watch. But that rage seemed to quell down once there was no more robots to direct it at, as he just slowly walked off as if nothing even happened. This was quite shocking to everybody else, of course. However, Kurapika just didn't really care, as he was quite confident he had gotten enough points to easily get into the UA course. But then something happened out of the blue. The earth started rumbling. The ground was breaking apart. As he ran to find the source, he noticed that there was a giant robot that now appeared. This thing was easily the size of buildings. It's massive. As it was heading towards a bunch of the students as they were all running out the way. However, a girl got trapped under some falling debris, and she was unable to rescue herself. And she was calling out for help. Help! Help! Please! Anybody! I sprained my ankle! As Kurapika would use the chains to obviously swat away any of the large rocks on her, she would slowly sweep herself off. As well, what he would do is he'd pinch up her shirt a bit as he'd impale it with a chain as she would suddenly go flying upwards and then then land on her feet on top of the building. And she was like, wait, what the? Oh, she couldn't react in time to see that he had obviously launched her up there, as this thing was approaching him and fast. As this kind of dauntless thing reminded him of that man he saw, as rage started to consume him, as his eyes started almost giving off their own aura. As a red energy starts to surround his eyes. As his eyes start to bleed a bit. However, he starts yelling, getting angry. "Ah! I'm gonna kill you!" As he basically wrapped his chains around wrapping them not only around his arm, but around each other. However, it fused into one giant chain as he punched forth, and his thing impaled the giant robot. Electricity started shooting forth. It started traveling down the chain and into Kurapika's body. However, it seemed that the electricity wasn't phasing him at all. However, instead, he removed the chain and split it into two, before whipping it along and electrocuting him using the energy that he had gotten from the battery. As the machines would start short-circuiting, going haywire. The more he started whipping across, the deep slashes that cut into the circuits and caused more damage. And this was a brutal scene to watch, as he was just letting out sheer ferocity. As even the heroes were awestruck by what they were seeing in front of them. It's as if they're watching a wild beast. And then they had, noticed that the thing wasn't even working anymore. It was just standing there. However, he's still attacking it until the timer goes up. As he slowly collapsed down as he holds his eyes, as he seemed to be in a bit of pain. I studied for training. As everybody who was watching that was just had the jaws on the ground. And it was easy to see why. As he finally managed to get himself up, he was holding his face as he was walking back. However, a short lady, with her hair in a bun, started saying, "You there, young man." As he continued walking, he says, "Hey, you blonde one with the red eyes." As he would turn around and say, "What?" "Come here, let me hear your eyes." "So I don't need it." "Don't be so stubborn. Now get here and heal." As he would walk over and says, "Whatever, old hag." And she would give him a bit of a smack on the head and said, "Be kind, dear elders." As she would kiss him on the cheek, and his eyes would start healing, so they no longer have that intense pain like they did before. Just mild itchiness. As he'd start heading back home. He would be, he'd make it home. Then he'd make his way back home, and finally, after a few weeks, he would receive a letter from UA themselves, saying, "Aha! I am here with good news. Yes, you, Kurapika, you have been chosen. You have been chosen to be in Class 1A, as well as placing the highest in the exams overall. You'll be happy welcomed into your Hero Academia. I myself will be starting teaching this year, so please do keep that in mind. And like I always say, go beyond plus ultra." Okay, we got the cut, right? It says, "Yep, now we're on to Mina Ashido." "Oh, come on." As the thing cuts out, it says, "Lazy as always." As he thinks to himself, "Good, I got it. I'm one step closer to my revenge." As one of these, one of the, no, sorry, I got a bit sidetracked now. On the way to the classroom, as he had just now started the new school year, as he was in his uniform and everything, he started trying to find his way. He said, Jeez. Takeru, if only you're alive. You could always point me in the right direction. He steals himself and then just continues looking as he finally finds the classroom. It says, man, this thing's big. What kind of people are gonna be in here? As he opens the door quite abruptly and slamming accidentally as he didn't expect it to be so light. Thinking it was a bit heavier, so he used a bit more force. As everybody automatically shifted all their attention towards him. As he stared back coldly as some people averted their gaze while some people just continued staring at him. One of those being the brown-haired girl who actually was behind him. As she would poke him in the back and says, excuse me, as he would get a bit startled, then twist around, then point his hand in her face with a chain at the end of his finger. She says, I'm sorry, I'm startled you. Oh, it's you. Oh, you remember me? No, I just saw you at the exam. What, did I see you somewhere? She go, I'm the one that you saved. Oh yeah. So you managed to get in, did you? Yeah, I'm very excited. I can't wait to meet our new teachers and then go and see orientation and everything. However, Kurapika would say I don't think we're going to be enjoying orientation. As, well, Chaka would say, what, why not? As he just points ahead of him to see Aizawa in a sleeping bag looking half dead. As this was actually, as he was actually a bit more awake than usual. As he had one specific interest, and that was on the promising child of the future, being the son of the number 2 and 3 heroes respectively. As he would say, alright, anybody who's here to make friends or have fun, get out of my class now. I'm only gonna say this once. And listen up. This class runs how I see fit when I see fit. So, today you'll all be going out to the field. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now change into this uniform and meet me out there in 15 minutes. Anybody who fails to comply will be expelled. Somebody was raising a hand and was trying to run a battle against it, but sir, what? As even Kurapika was getting a bit annoyed at this and said, he said meet him out in 15 minutes and that's what we're gonna do. So, don't get your panties in a twist. As, well, they would all start heading out, a bit unnerved by Deku, however, no, not Deku, Kurapika, but still following him as he seemed to know where the location was, however, he happened to pass on the way as he was a bit lost. And then it came to the point where the lockers showed up as, well, Kurapika took off his uniform as he was quite ripped. To the point where even Kirishima had to comment on it. It says, "Whoa, dude, you're jacked." It's like, so what? Ah, I'm just saying, it's impressive. From one bro to another, I admire your style. Yeah, whatever. Come on, bro, don't blow me off like that. As it said, whatever. As Kurapika was about to leave, however, he saw Mineta looking at a poster. As he started to lift the poster up, as there was a small hole. As Mineta's eyes were glued into the hole, every so often he would get a bit excited and jump up and down. But he was about to realize why he did not piss off the angry kid, as they were asking questions that they shouldn't have. Well, more like he was just peeping, as Kurapika was behind him and basically grabbed him by his head, as he picked him up and says, "Well, look at what we have here. Someone worse than the scum under my boot." He's like, I promise I wasn't doing anything. He's like, sure. And I'm a nice guy, apparently. As he basically picked up Netta and slammed his head into the wall. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. As there was a solid crack left in there, as well as Mineta on the floor unconscious. His sticky balls could help him resist the impact, however it did not nullify the sheer amount of strength put into, into Kurapika's throw. And when it came to the... Oh, sorry. There's a bit of pause. Just know that I'm very tired while doing this, so I might get paused a little bit. Yeah, anyway, back to what it is. After the beating down of the purple-haired pervert, he walked down to the field as if nothing happened, with the same exact blank face he had on while beating down Netta. As he would finally... Well, as Jiro would actually be a bit intimidated, as you did hear Netta getting, well, basically pummeled into the ground. And this was quite shocking, as she already planned to obviously stab him in the eye, but that wasn't something she was expecting. And they all start lining up. Everybody's getting out of the change room, even Mineta, after about 5 minutes. And everybody starts getting ready for their testing as Aizawa would toss a ball to, well, obviously Kurapika, as he got the highest score. Bucko was going on a bit of a fit about this. He was cut short by Kurapika telling him to shut it. As we started getting into a heated argument, it was soon split up by Aizawa going, "Need I remind you that I can expel both of you at any time. So, do your job." And, well, he basically gets the ball, stands up to the pitcher, and then basically runs back up and then throws it as hard as he can while using the chain to whip it while it's in the air. As he did so, as it would have read over 3,000 meters. And everybody was just so surprised by this. Says, what the? How did he? So, what? As it, well, Kurapika would just go back and then people would ask me, like, what was that? How did you get so strong? How do you use your quirk? As he did not answer any of these questions, as he didn't like answering anything personal. He always was used to living by himself, relying on himself. So other people were foreign. Then it finally came for the rest of the testings, as he would place quite high, if not, then capturing first place with some, second place in others, rarely ever a third place, as he only got 1 third place medal, and that was from the high jump. As obviously, well, he actually fumbled the first jump and didn't exactly want to care about it, so he just didn't do the rest of them, as he didn't really give a shit. As now we skip forward a few days, as well, Kurapika was sitting in his home, as he was listening to the radio, as he says, "Warning! Anybody living in the Great Tokyo Empire, we are the Phantom Troop. We are those who dance in the night, those who bring carnage upon this world. We are the agents of chaos in this purified world. And we would like to give a little warning. Don't you dare oppose us, because you will die before the radio cuts out. As, well, these are a few shadowy figures, as he saw one on by itself as he followed it for quite a long time, as it led him down to a man who was wearing a ninja-like getup. As he's saying, "You, stop!" As the man in the ninja outfit would turn around and said, "And what if I don't? They'll stop you by force!" "Oh really? With what?" As Kurapika clicks and all the chains appear. Imagine the gates of Babylon in Fate. And says, I'm just gonna ask you this once and once only. Are you with the Phantom Troop? As he just says, yes, they did. So, I'll make you a deal. I'll kill you slowly and you tell me who the rest of your foul-mouthed companions are. It says, sorry, but we little ants over here don't really care. As, well, this caused him to start going out of rage and it's like, I'll make you pay for attacking my family! As he started charging at him and, well, obviously a battle ensued. Quite a large one. As by the end of it, Kurapika was, well, panting heavily as he couldn't seem to make a scratch on him. However, that wasn't because he never hit. No, he hit quite frequently and quite severely. However, he was healing too fast. However, he thinks for a second and then sees a faint but yet familiar green glow. As he'd say, Kaito. As, well, the troop member would say, the hell are you talking about? As, well, it was actually those who'd be like, whoa, it's Kaito's quirk. And says, you bastards! You stole his quirk! I'll never forgive you! As now he starts, a problem for Rusty starts, appearing like it never had before, as his eyes start bleeding and start glowing a fiery red. As his whole eyes start turning red, actually. Seem to be lost in rage, as he now gets faster and faster and attacks swifter, and his strikes become heavier and heavier. As, well, the man could struggle to keep up. As, admittedly, this guy was on the lower end of the spiders, however, he was still a member of the spiders. It's like, you damn spiders! You're gonna pay! As, to finish, well, he managed to set him up with a chain prison, as he calls it. As it binded his arms and legs. As Kurapika finally had him cornered. As his arms started glowing, while his chain started glowing a bright orange. As he grabbed his arm, burrowed it into a blade, and shoved it into his chest. As the chain that was surrounding it started glowing a faint, green. As the man who was basically coughing up and going, well, you made one mistake. Oh, what was that? by killing me, You've only just alerted the others. As it says, good. I'll hunt them down. Like well, like the little spiders you are. I'll hunt you down and squash you. All of you. As he laughed and says, oh, it hurts like a bitch. As it said, I'll give you a little advice, kid. Give up. You never defeat Crollo. As it says, he's too much for me, too much for you. As he'd pull his hand out of his chest, says, I don't care. Now die like the scum you are. As basically, he was strung up by the chains, pierced to the wall in the same style of a crucifixion. As, well, Kurapika fled the scene. As he didn't realize, well, he realized it then, but one of the chains around his arms was glowing. And this is where I'm going to leave off part 2 to What If Deku Was Kurapika. I'm so sorry it took me so long, and I'm sorry if I might have mumbled about 30-minute section. It's just I'm very tired at the moment. I'm running like 3 hours sleep because of bad decisions. But yeah, I hope everybody did enjoy this part. I enjoyed making these parts, because who doesn't love a bit of Hunter x Hunter content? But I will be letting people know that the 3K special is most definitely going to be What If Deku Was Deadpool? Because I've been told by my friends and everybody around me just to do a Deadpool What If, because I run my mouth so much I get confused with the merc with the mouth. But anyway, I've been the King of Underworld. I thank you all for joining me, and I'm very excited to have this new mic up and running so we can get, well, content pumped out much better. But like I've said, I'm the King of Underworld, and I hope y'all have a very good day. Peace.